Hello and welcome back to Mass Effect. In this episode, what we're going to do is going to take a look through some of these Codex entries and learn a bit about some of the aliens, things like that. So, we'll start off with the primary. Now, I think the primary Codex is actually audio. There's actual audio recordings. So, we'll do a few of these, and then we'll do a few of the secondary as well. So, okay, let's take a look at the Council Races first then.
The Asari were the first species to discover the Citadel. When the Salarians arrived, it was the Asari who proposed the establishment of the Citadel Council to maintain peace throughout the galaxy. Since then, the Asari have served as the mediators and centrists of the Council. An all-female race, the Asari reproduce through a form of parthenogenesis. They can attune their nervous system to that of another individual of any gender and of any species to reproduce. This capability has led to the unseemly and inaccurate rumors about Asari promiscuity. Asari can live for over 1,000 years, passing through 3 stages of life. In the maiden stage, they wander restlessly, seeking new knowledge and experience. When the matron stage begins, they meld with interesting partners to produce their offspring. This ends when they reach the matriarch stage, where they assume the roles of leaders and counselors.
Yeah, I like the Asari. The way of reproducing is really strange. I mean, what do they offer to other species, really? It's almost like oh, go on, a parasite. But yeah, so okay, let's have a look at the Salarians.
The second species to join the Citadel, the Salarians, are warm-blooded amphibians with a hyperactive metabolism. Salarians think fast, talk fast, and move fast. To Salarians, other species seem sluggish and dull-witted. Unfortunately, their metabolic speed leaves them with a relatively short lifespan. Salarians over the age of 40 are a rarity. The Salarians were responsible for advancing the development of the primitive Krogan species to use as soldiers during the Rachni Wars. They were also behind the creation of the genophage bioweapon the Turians used to quell the Krogan rebellions several centuries later. Salarians are known for their observational capability and non-linear thinking. This manifests as an aptitude for research and espionage. They are constantly experimenting and inventing, and it is generally accepted that they always know more than they are letting on.
Yeah, well, they seem a bit of a dodgy bunch. I mean, they get involved with, well, more primitive species, advancing the development of the primitive Krogans. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're like a warrior species, but bloody advancing them, that was bound to cause trouble. And then using a genetic weapon on them. Jeez, a bio weapon on them. It's, yeah, not exactly a brilliant idea. And what about the Turians?
Roughly 1,200 years ago, the Turians were invited to join the Citadel Council to fulfill the role of galactic peacekeepers. The Turians have the largest fleet in Citadel space, and they make up the single largest portion of the Council's military forces. As their territory and influence has spread, the Turians have come to rely on the Salarians for military intelligence and the Asari for diplomacy. Despite a somewhat colonial attitude towards the rest of the galaxy, the ruling hierarchy understands they would lose more than they would gain if the other 2 races were ever removed. Turians come from an autocratic society that values discipline and possesses a strong sense of personal and collective honor. There is lingering animosity between Turians and humans over the First Contact War of 2157, which is known as the Relay 314 incident to the Turians. Officially, however, the 2 species are allies, and they enjoy civil, if cool, diplomatic relations.
Yeah, the First Contact War, not good. So the Turians and humans are at war when the humans were just bouncing around finding mass relays, and they bumped into the Turians, and humans were pretty lucky to survive in the end. It was thanks to the council that it was ended. Right, so we've got extinct races.
50,000 years ago, the Protheans were the only spacefaring species in the galaxy. They vanished in a swift galactic extinction. Only the legacy of their empire remains. They are believed to have built the mass relays and the Citadel, which have allowed numerous species to explore and expand throughout the galaxy. Prothean ruins are found on worlds across the galaxy. While surprisingly intact for their age, functioning examples of Prothean paleotechnology are rare. Time and generations of looters have picked their dead cities and derelict stations clean. Some believe the Protheans meddled in the evolution of younger races. The Hanar homeworld of Kadje, for example, shows clear evidence of former Prothean occupation. The presence of a former Prothean observation post on Mars has caused a rebirth of interventionary evolutionists among humans. These individuals believe the god myths of ancient civilizations are misremembered encounters with aliens.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who think that this interventionary evolutionism, or that human genome was tampered with by aliens, and yeah, I'm not too sure about that. That's just a bit too far out there even for me. Okay, so we've got the non-council races.
In the early 2160s, the Alliance began aggressive colonization of worlds in the Skyllian Verge, much to the dismay of the Batarians, who had been developing the region for several decades. In 2171, the Batarians petitioned the Council to declare the Verge a zone of Batarian interest. The Council refused, however, declaring unsettled worlds in the region open to human colonization. In protest, the Batarians closed their Citadel embassy and severed official diplomatic relations with the Council, effectively becoming a rogue state. They instigated a proxy war in the Verge by funneling money and weapons to criminal organizations, urging them to strike at human colonies. Hostilities peaked with the Skyllian Blitz of 2176, an attack on the human capital of Elysium by Batarian-funded pirates and slavers. In 2178, the Alliance retaliated with a crushing assault on the moon of Torfin, long used as a staging base by Batarian-backed criminals. In the aftermath, the Batarians retreated into their own systems and are now rarely seen in Citadel space.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. Not exactly a nice bunch, or don't seem to be, anyway. Right, okay, so we've got the Elcor next.
The Elcor are a Citadel species native to the high-gravity world Dakuna. They are massive creatures, standing on 4 muscular legs for increased stability. Elcor move slowly, an evolved response to an environment where a fall can be lethal. This has colored their psychology, making them deliberate and conservative. Elcor's speech is ponderous and monotone. Among themselves, scent, slight movements, and sub-vocalized infrasound convey shades of meaning that make a human smile seem as subtle as a fireworks display. Since their subtlety can lead to misunderstandings with other species, the Elcor often go out of their way to clarify when they are being sarcastic, amused, or angry. Dakuna's high gravity impedes mountain formation. Most of the world consists of flat, open plains, which prehistoric Elcor wandered across in small family bands. Modern Elcor still prefer open sky and can become restless and uncomfortable on long starship journeys.
Yeah, I love the Elcor. The way the Elcor speaks, just brilliant. They're so monotone, and at the beginning of what they're trying to say, they explain the meaning behind it. The feeling. Yeah, that's brilliant. We've met an Elcor at the start when we first got to the Citadel. Alright, let's have a listen about the Geth.
The Geth are a humanoid race of networked AIs. They were created by the Quarians 300 years ago as tools of labor and war. When the Geth showed signs of self-evolution, the Quarians attempted to exterminate them. The Geth won the resulting war. This example has led to legal, systematic repression of artificial intelligences in galactic society. The Geth possess a unique distributed intelligence. An individual has rudimentary animal instincts, but as their numbers and proximity increase, the apparent intelligence of each individual improves. In groups, they can reason, analyze situations, and use tactics, as well as any organic race. Geth space is located at the trailing end of the Perseus Arm, beyond the lawless Terminus systems. The Perseus Veil, an obscuring dark nebula of opaque gas and dust, lies between their space and the Terminus systems.
Yeah, good old AI causing trouble. How people expect that AI is not going to cause hassle when it goes too far. I mean, it's bound to. Alright, we'll leave the rest of these for now, and we will take a look at some of the humanity in the System Alliance, I think.
Humanity's first contact with an alien race occurred in 2157. At that time, the Alliance allowed survey fleets to activate any dormant mass relays discovered, a practice considered dangerous and irresponsible by Council-aligned races. When a Turian patrol discovered a human fleet attempting to activate a relay, they attacked. One human vessel survived, retreating to the colony of Shanxi. The Turians followed, quickly defeating the local forces. Shanxi was occupied, the first and to date only human world to be conquered by an alien species. The Turians believed the handful of ships they defeated represented the bulk of human defenses, so they were unprepared when the Second Fleet, under Admiral Castany Drescher, launched a strong counteroffensive, evicting them from Shanxi. The Turians mobilized for full-scale war, drawing the attention of the rest of the galaxy. The Council quickly intervened, forcing a truce. Fortunately for humanity, the First Contact War was ended with a diplomatic solution.
Yeah, it was a good job it did, because we wouldn't be about after that. No, the Turians would have just annihilated us. Right, the Systems Alliance.
The Systems Alliance is an independent supranational government representing the interests of humanity as a whole. The Alliance is responsible for the governance and defense of all extrasolar colonies and stations. The Alliance grew out of the various national space programs as a matter of practicality. Sol's planets had been explored and exploited through piecemeal national efforts. The expense of colonizing entire new solar systems could not be met by any one country. With humans knowing that alien contact was inevitable, there was enough political will to jointly fund an international effort. Still, the Alliance was often disregarded by those on Earth until the First Contact War. While the national governments dithered and bickered over who should lead the effort to liberate Shanxi, the Alliance fleet struck decisively. Post-war public approval gave the Alliance the credibility to establish its own parliament and become the galactic face of humanity.
Yeah, well, we think we're going further and further away from that possibility at the moment. Alright, let's take a look at some of these secondary ones. The secondary entries. Okay. Don't need to have a look at the player tutorials, although it'd probably be good for me. Let's take a look at our personal history. That might be a good idea, you know. So our profile. Born into a naval family, you spent your childhood on ships and stations. You moved from posting to posting as your parents were reassigned. You enlisted in the Alliance military yourself on the day you turned 18. You were on shore leave at Elysium when the first wave of the Skillian Blitz struck. A massive coalition force of slavers, crime syndicates and Batarian warlords attacked the human colony, determined to wipe it out. You rallied the civilian inhabitants, leading them in their desperate fight to hold off the invaders. When enemy troops broke through the colony's defences, you single-handedly held them off and sealed the breach. After hours of brutal fighting, reinforcements finally arrived and the enemy broke ranks and fled. Because of your actions, Elysium was saved, and you are regarded throughout the Alliance as a true hero. So, grand, we are a hero. Alright, so if we take a look at the Council Races again, I think, Asari, it goes into the culture, so Asari culture, because of their long lifespan, Asari tend to have a long view, not common in other races. When they encounter a new species or situation, the Asari are more comfortable with an extended period of passive observation and study than immediate action. They are unfazed that some of their investments or decisions may not pay off for decades or centuries. Matriarchs can seem to make incomprehensible decisions, but their insight is evident when their carefully laid plans come to fruition. In interstellar relations, this long view manifested an unspoken policy of centrism. The Asari instinctively seek to maintain stable balances of economic, political and military power. Traditionally, Asari spread their influence through cultural domination and intellectual superiority. They invite new species of advanced development to join the galactic community, knowing that their ideals and beliefs will inevitably influence the existing culture. The Asari government. The Asari came late to the concept of world government. For centuries, their homeworld of Thessia was dotted with loose confederacies of great republican cities. The closest earthly equivalent would be the ancient Mediterranean city-states. Since the Asari culture values consensus and accommodation, there was little impetus to form larger principalities. Rather than hoard resources, the Asari bartered freely. Rather than attack one another over differing philosophies, they sought to understand one another. Only in the information age did the city-states grow close. Communication over internet evolved into an electronic democracy. Asari have no politicians or elections, but are a freewheeling, all-inclusive legislature that citizens can participate in at will. Policy debates take place at all hours of the day in official chat rooms and forums, moderated by specially programmed virtual intelligences. All aspects of policy are open to plebiscite at any time. In any given debate, the Asari tend to lend the most credence to the opinions of any matriarchs present, nearly always deferring to the experience of these millennia-old wise women. Yeah, it's interesting that it's done. The politics is done over the their equivalent of the internet. Achieving consensus through public debate may take too long in the crisis. In cases where prompt, decisive action is required, the Asari defer to the wisdom of local matriarchs. Okay, so we've got the Solarians League of One. Before they joined the Citadel Council, the Solarians' most potent military tool was a small reconnaissance team known as the League of One. Their primary training was in espionage and assassination. Never more than a dozen strong, the team was adept at infiltrating the tightest defences and eliminating all necessary obstacles. Excuse me. Only a few top members of government and military were privy to the League's identities. League members wore no distinguishing garments and held no particular rank. The only evidence of their participation in the League was a small medallion presented to each member upon induction. This secrecy was maintained until the formation of the Council. In an effort to dispel rumours and appease their new Asari partners, the Solarian Union released all classified documents pertaining to the League. The League of One was suddenly exposed and in danger of being hunted by enemies of the Solarians. Before any harm could be done, the team mysteriously disappeared. Most assumed this was a convenient lie to help hide their identities, but a few months later the inner cabinet was murdered. Though there was no incriminating evidence, it was clear who was responsible. I wonder who. Realising the threat posed by this rogue outfit, the Special Task Group dispatched a team of hunters. when they didn't return, the STG dispatched 10 of its brightest operators with broad discretionary powers. Only 2 returned. They reported no evidence of the League. No further incidents were reported, and it was assumed the League was wiped out. Some recently declassified documents, however, have suggested there may have been a 13th member who eluded the Solarian military. Isn't it the League of One medallions that we are looking for? I think that's one of the, is it UNC missions or something? We're actually collecting these medallions. Okay, and what else do we have? Let's take a look at some of the non-council races again. Oh heck, maybe not. We'll leave that. I'm just looking for something short to end the video. Oh, we've got some bits about the Protheans here again, like the beacon, cipher and data disks. So the beacon was a Prothean artifact unearthed on the Alliance colony of Eden Prime. Its resemblance to the Prothean databanks recovered on Mars provoked immediate interest from the Alliance and the Citadel Council. It proved to be a solid-state data storage device, part of a galaxy-spanning comm network similar to the modern extranet. Intact Prothean paleotechnology is rare. The beacon seemed to promise another quantum leap of technology, akin to the discovery of the Mass Effect drive and relays. Unfortunately, the beacon also drew the attention of the rogue Spectre Saren Arterius and his synthetic allies the Geth. A dawn raid by his flagship sovereign resulted in hundreds of civilian casualties. The beacon was badly damaged. The motives behind the attack are still being investigated. During the recovery operation, the beacon fired a pulse of energy at the executive officer of the Alliance frigate Normandy. Lieutenant Commander Shepard survived and appears to have suffered no ill effects. Afterwards, the beacon fell inert. The mechanism appears to be dead. Yeah, well, it exploded. Pretty much. Alright, so the Prothean cipher. The Prothean beacon downloaded its knowledge into Lieutenant Commander Shepard on Eden Prime, causing confusing dreams and visions. While the imagery is becoming clearer with time, the meaning of the beacon communication remains elusive. It has been suggested that Prothean data recording is highly dependent on a certain point of view, what Carl Jung described as the collective unconsciousness. The cipher needs to comprehend the image. The images implanted in Shepard's mind is the cultural knowledge of a Prothean. The cipher needed to comprehend the images implanted in Shepard's mind is the cultural knowledge of a Prothean, the archetypes, biological instincts, and common experience universal to the race. Okay, since the Protheans have been dead for millennia, it may be impossible to acquire this cipher. Right, and then we have the Prothean data disks. Despite all the evidence confirming the existence of the Protheans, little is known about their culture and society. From time to time, dig sites will yield new clues, but after 50,000 years of decay, little of value is unearthed. Recent research has focused on the discovery of Prothean data disks. On their own, they are frail and rarely found in one piece. Occasionally, however, an intact disk will be discovered within a console or reading device. Today, over 3 dozen disks have been recovered, and a few of those have been restored to the point where researchers can begin analysing them, though it may be some time before scientists discover a way to transfer the data off the disks. They are currently considered the most tangible leads for learning more about the Prothean culture. Yeah, a lot of these codexes are really pretty interesting. And they go quite deep, and there is a hell of a lot of them. So I will be carrying on and doing some more of these Codex episodes the further we go along into the game. See if we can actually do and get all of them right. Whether we do or not, that's a different matter, but I will give it a go. And if not, if there's still like a few left at the end, I will just tag them onto the end. So okay, what we'll do is we'll take a break here, and then in the next episode we'll carry on with the game itself and go into the, I think it's Synthetic Insights Lab. So, okay, so until next time, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.